And at the beginning of spring, there was a couple who were happy with each other. The guy was dressed like a hero while the girl was dressed like a villain, and the two of them were flirting with each other while there was a battle behind them. Back to the lovebirds, the guy was being fed cake by his lover, and he was looking at her while eating, making her blush. He then wanted to hold her hand, but she thought it was too early because they had only met 3 times since they started dating. However, she gave in to his persistence and agreed to hold hands. And when their hands were about to touch, the hero from the other side ran over to check on the situation. So they had to pretend to be fighting again, and at this time we learned the information about the hero group, the leader of which was that hero. Akihana, the guy's lover, is a half Shinigami, the leader of the secret society that created her, Desumi. The hero from the other side checked on the situation, and then returned to the battlefield. At this time, Akihana was very happy because the two of them were holding hands, and Desumi then wrote in her diary as a souvenir. As for why they started dating, let's go back to a week ago at the hero base. Akihana was training as usual when Arizu, the pink hero, came to inform him that it was time for the meeting, and on the way there they met Ōjino, the hero from the other side. He was confessing to a female staff member here, but was rejected. The 3 of them met up with the yellow hero and the green hero, and the 5 of them went to the meeting room together. They met with the big doctor who brought out croissants for the group and then ate while discussing the plan. The doctor projected Desumi's image and said that the Secret Society Gekko is a secret society that aims to conquer the world. And Desumi is the one who is the most difficult to deal with. At this time, a danger alert was issued, and the 5 heroes set out to subdue the violent demon. At the scene of the danger, Desumi appeared with a bear, and the group of heroes also arrived. They transformed together, and the monster stood by and watched them do so. Then the bear had its army charge forward, but they were all wiped out by Akihana's single blow. With no other choice, the bear fired a cannon at the 5 of them. Then, Desumi rushed forward to attack, but Akihana intercepted her. Akihana fought defensively against Desumi so that the other 4 could take care of the bear. The 2 of them fought from weapons to bare hands. While Desumi had just pushed Akihana back, the bear on the other side had been defeated and surrendered. With no other choice, she had to help push back. She praised Akihana because it had been a long time since she had felt like fighting a strong opponent. She saw this as a fateful encounter, and then left. Desumi could not have known that her casual words had left Akihana in a daze. After he returned to the base, he went into training day and night. The doctor watched and had to stop him. He then asked Akihana if he had anything to do besides training, and he said that he had something on his mind. And when he heard that he had a crush on someone, the doctor was shocked because it was the first time Akihana had thought about anything other than world peace. When he learned that he hadn't confessed yet, he punched him. He ordered Akihana to go confess to the girl. He wanted him to experience the feeling of being in love instead of always rushing into battle. At the doctor's words, Akihana hurriedly ran off to find Desumi, and the doctor happily thought that Akihana had fallen for someone at the base. But Akihana had made an appointment to meet Desumi. She thought that Akihana wanted to continue the battle from this morning, but Akihana confessed to her. Desumi was embarrassed and attacked Akihana. She knew that she was not good at love, so she thought he was using it to provoke her. However, Akihana told her all about her hobbies and hometown, which surprised her. In fact, he had been following her on social media, so he knew. And no matter how violent she was, Akihana accepted it. He asked her again if she wanted to date him, and she agreed. And so, the 2 of them started dating, and back in the present, the 2 of them were still talking while the others were fighting. Desumi showed Akihana the cat she was raising, but he only watched her reaction in the mirror. Desumi reminded her that their relationship had to be kept a secret, and if it were to be revealed, it would be a world-shaking news. However, she believed that one day the 2 of them would be able to love each other openly, without fear of anything. Akihana was happier than anyone now that he had a very lovely girlfriend. The hero base was attacked, and Desumi had to defeat Akihana. She made an appointment with Akihana to meet again next time and then left. And this is the story of the beginning of the forbidden love between the hero of justice and the princess of death. When he returned to the base, the doctor asked him about his love life. But he did not answer and continued to train as before. Desumi was more than capable of defeating all 5 heroes, and only Akihana was able to fight her on equal terms, and when she stabbed him, he was still able to throw her away. And when she saw Desumi shining under the moonlight, Akihana felt something stirring within her. Back in the present, A reporter was reporting from the battlefield about the heroes' battle. The children watching on TV liked Akihana and Desumi's battle the most. The two of them were exchanging blows, but in reality they were reminding each other what moves they would be using next. After fighting for a while, the two of them pulled each other to another corner to avoid the camera, and then they flirted with each other again. However, today, Desumi seemed a little distant with Akihana, making him sad because he thought she was tired of him. But she said that she had fought more today, so she was afraid she smelled bad. Akihana didn't care, and no matter how she was, he wanted to be with her. Looking at Desumi in love, Akihana wanted to capture this moment, so he took out his camera and took a picture of her. She let him take one, but he took too many, making her embarrassed, and attacking him with her fist. She then wanted to take a picture of him, so she took out her phone and took a picture. They were both too close, and the scent from Desumi made Akihana blush. Just as they were about to take a picture of him, Jiangu came looking for him. But Desumi reacted quickly and pretended to be defeated by Akihana, and he wanted to drag Jiangu away, but she informed him that the press was coming to interview him. Desumi couldn't escape, so he had to lie there while Akihana answered the interview. The reporter didn't ask any questions related to the battle, but instead asked Akihana if he had a girlfriend, which made Desumi jealous. He wanted to say that he did, but he didn't dare, and the other heroes covered for him. Then she even recruited a girlfriend for Akihana right on the live broadcast. After the interview was over, Akihana went to find Desumi, and she seemed to be leading him on and even told Akihana that he had a lot of fans. Knowing that her lover was sad, Akihana decided to prove that he only loved her by promising that the two of them would go on a date. Hearing this, Desumi became happy again and left. But despite his bravado, Akihana didn't know what to do on a date. He went back to ask the doctor for advice, but there were too many choices. At this time, Dingo came to his rescue, and knowing that Akihana was having trouble, she suggested that he go on a date anywhere as long as he thought it was fun. Akihana felt like he had been saved and found a place for his date. On the day of the date, he had prepared a large cake to the point of excess. And Desumi came in a very sexy outfit, and Akihana had prepared a date plan for today. Thinking that they were going somewhere fun, Akihana took Desumi to the gym, and she even trained with him, which surprised the muscular guys inside. Then the two of them went for a run in the park. In the evening, they rested on a bench, and Akihana then took Desumi out to dinner. She was happy and thought that the two of them would go to a restaurant. But Akihana brought out a pile of paraffin and choco, and Desumi then went home. Akihana thought that he had created a perfect date. At this time, Desumi called and told Akihana not to follow Honqua's advice. At that time, she had only said it casually, and she had forgotten that he didn't know anything about anything other than training, so the only place that would make him happy would be the gym. Go told Akihana to ask the other party's opinion, and then decide on a date together. The amusement park was the most suitable place, but it was too late to suggest it now. Akihana realized that he had made a mistake, so he ran to find Desumi. However, he couldn't find her anywhere, so he started to blame himself. Suddenly she came back with 2 bottles of water. Akihana told her everything, but she didn't blame him. She knew that he had made this plan because he wanted to do anything with Akihana, and she was very happy. When the two were about to call each other, there was an order to return to the base. They met again, but this time as enemies. However, both of them couldn't concentrate on the fight after what had just happened. At the dormitory of the Gekko Society, this cat was the Queen's hero Kobe's channel. Because she was the closest to Desumi, she understood her very well. Although she was extremely dangerous on the outside, Hiroko knew that Desumi was very feminine, not good at eating or talking, and very sensitive. However, after meeting Akihana, every day was a happy day for Desumi. Hiroko knew that, but she would kill Akihana if he dared to make Desumi cry. 2 weeks had passed, but the evil had not made any moves. The captain only played cards all day. Akihana knew that it was good that the evil didn't appear, but without an alarm, he couldn't meet Desumi. For the past 2 weeks, he had been thinking about her, missing her, and loving her every day. It seemed that the Gekko Society was developing a new weapon. This time, the announcement required the superheroes to infiltrate the enemy's base to destroy the weapon. The situation was very tense because Hayato and Ōjino were on a business trip, and I was thinking about having a salary. Now, only Dingu or Akihana could participate in this mission. Dingu wanted to defend the gun, but Akihana insisted on taking the mission this time. The captain allowed it, and he transformed and began the mission. Everyone was moved by Akihana's courage, while he didn't care about the mission and just wanted to meet Desumi on the other side of the enemy base. Desumi also missed Akihana very much. Her aura made the ghosts bow their heads in fear. Desumi had bought a lucky charm according to today's horoscope in the hope of meeting Akihana. At this time, the bear came to Desumi. It had just upgraded the 2 cannons on its back. Desumi didn't care, and continued walking. Just when she was about to be bored, Akihana came to Desumi from the top of the base. They were both very happy to see each other, but she still had to drag him back to her room. And in her room, Akihana forgot about the mission, and played cards with Desumi. The captain and Dingu were very worried at the base because there was no signal from Akihana. All they could do was trust him. But they didn't know that Akihana was having fun with his lover. While the two were having fun, Detsumi's subordinate suddenly called. In less than a minute, she found Akihana under her bed. Her subordinates reported that an intruder had been found, and that everyone should be on the lookout. Her subordinate said that they seemed to have seen someone, but they had been shot at and had to retreat. Detsumi then checked her bed, but Akihana was very happy because he had been sat on by a girl before the two kissed. Before she could say anything, the bear came in again to call Detsumi to assemble. She immediately dragged Akihana into the closet. The closet was too small, so their bodies were close to each other. The bear outside could also smell the closet. Suddenly Akihana flew out of the closet and knocked the bear unconscious. Going back a few minutes, Akihana felt short of breath as if something was covering his nose. He took it out, but it was Dotsumi's underwear, which made her slap him and sent him flying out. Akihana's sneeze also made the bear fall down accidentally, causing the weapon to malfunction and explode, completing the mission. Dotsumi also helped Akihana escape safely. Master Anne was injured, so she took out the gauze and tape from the lucky charm to bandage Anne's wound. And only he thought her lucky charm was cute, while everyone in the base thought she was hiding a hidden weapon in her lucky charm. Akihana then gave her Anne's phone number so that they could exchange phone numbers. At that time, Dotsumi had mustered up the courage to call Akihana. Surprisingly, when Anne gave her the landline number of Choco's house, Akihana's mother answered the phone. After talking to Anne, she persuaded Anne to buy a mobile phone. The next day, the bear had to repair the base after the accident. After that, the villains started to meet again. The leader of the Secret Society was Commander-in-Chief Buzzler. He praised everyone because the negative energy was still being accumulated. He explained how the Secret Society worked. They used the negative emotions from humans as energy to produce new monsters in order to conquer the world. After that, the Secret Society started to choose the next place to attack. Everyone hadn't thought of it yet, but Dotsumi suggested some ideal places for a date, such as the aquarium and the amusement park. But the bear thought that the amusement park was not a bad idea, because people there would only focus on having fun and would neglect their defenses. Everyone agreed, and the commander-in-chief also approved that the next attack would be on the superhero base. Akihana was still learning how to use a mobile phone. At this time, Dotsumi had informed Akihana about the upcoming attack on the amusement park. That was what they both had been looking forward to. He then found a way to send a message to Dotsumi. Dingu also overheard something about the amusement park from a distance. So on Sunday, she and Arisu followed Akihana. Unfortunately, the bear found out that Arisu and Dingu were following Akihana. It wanted to help them retreat, but Dotsumi didn't want to miss this opportunity, so she went to Akihana. Dingu and Arisu also came out to support Akihana. While the two were fighting, Akihana and Dotsumi had already started to choose a place to play. They then played a lot of games together. Then they sat on the Ferris wheel together. Akihana was still very tired after a few intense games, so Dotsumi took the initiative to hold his hand to help him feel better. It seemed that the date was about to end when Ōjino and Todo came to help. The two of them said goodbye to each other when they left. Arisu accidentally found Akihana. That night, Akihana's mother called Dotsumi to tell her about her son's bad habits. Dotsumi was not only a villain, but she also had to study like a normal schoolgirl. Today, she was walking home with her two friends. She was thinking that she already had a boyfriend, but her two friends found Akihana sitting with Arisu. They thought that the two were dating, which made Dotsumi run away in disappointment. In fact, they were in a coffee shop. This was the first time the two of them had talked to each other. Arisu wondered about the picture in the amusement park and asked if the girl was Akihana's girlfriend, but she didn't dare to ask. Akihana thought she needed this. He then took out 2 boxes of Inza protein powder. He would personally guide her to build muscle. Later, Arisu mentioned the picture again. Akihana still lied, because the fitness guidebook on gave him also had pictures of the muscles. Arisu didn't know what to say to Akihana. She also ignored her own doubts about the picture. The two of them then received an emergency notice and went out together. This time, the location was an abandoned factory. The 5 superheroes met Desumi and the bear. It seemed that Desumi was very angry with Akihana today. As soon as she saw him, she kicked him far away. Akihana had mentioned before that he would use his ultimate move, but she didn't care and continued to attack. Akihana didn't understand what was going on, so he wanted to change the location to talk. Desumi still ignored him and used her ultimate move to wrap Akihana up. It wasn't until a long time later that Akihana managed to drag Desumi into the factory. She then used her energy to gather a pile of iron, while Akihana kept asking her why she was angry. After a while, Desumi finally mentioned that he had gone out with Arisu. Akihana quickly explained. Desumi knew that he was not the kind of person who would fool around, but she was still jealous when she saw the two of them together. Love made her become soft. Love turned her into a pitiful and adorable girl. She thought she was not worthy of being loved, but Akihoa held her tightly. He promised to always be by her side and he would spend his whole life just thinking about her. So he wanted her to trust him. Desumi calmed down and the two talked to each other. Akihoa was very happy to find a new scene of Desumi putting. Her daughter wanted to be happy with him in a uniform, both of them happily holding hands. In the moment of life and death, Arisu sat next to him and informed both of them that the war was over, and so each of the two had a third person. Arisu said nothing but just told Akihoa to go back. He worriedly asked Arisu when she came. She came to watch from the moment the two flew into the factory area. Akihoa began to worry because if the story was revealed, he would be alienated by the doctor and everyone on the team. The pressure from them made Akihoa breathless. The next day he came to the door of the meeting room but did not dare to enter. Arisu was right behind him, surprising him. She then pulled Akihoa into the meeting room. Arisu then stood up and made a speech, but she did not mention anything about happiness. She just told everyone that because the quarterly exam was approaching, she and Akihoa would end the meeting and return sooner than everyone else. In the following days, Akihoa began to keep an eye on Arisu. After a week, he went to see Desumi. She was very worried that if the story was revealed, both of them would have to end, so she wanted to kill Arisu. Akihoa quickly stopped him. He thought Arisu was planning something, so they needed to observe more. At this time, Desumi felt something, so she asked Akihoa to go out and push her. When Akihoa just left, Arisu appeared. Desumi went straight to the point, and always wondered why Arisu hadn't mentioned their relationship. Arisu sent a challenge to Desumi. She then transformed and rushed to Desumi. Of course, apart from Akihoa, no one in the team could fight Desumi. After a while, Arisu was exhausted, but she still continued to rush forward. Arisu didn't have time to see anything before her eyes went dark. She then woke up next to Desumi. Desumi asked again what Arisu's purpose was. At this time, Arisu replied that she joined the team because she liked Akihoa. She was very surprised that he already had a girlfriend, but she was even more surprised when Akihoa's girlfriend was someone Arisu admired. Before Arisu joined the team, she was attacked by 2 villains and Desumi saved her. The reason Arisu challenged Desumi was to see if love made a girl pitiful or not. If Desumi lost, she would take Akihoa. She also didn't want to tell anyone their secret because she respected Akihoa's happiness. Speaking of living, Arisu burst into tears. Desumi hugged her to comfort her. When Akihoa returned, Arisu was sleeping on Desumi's shoulder. When she woke up, the 3 of them went home together. Arisu promised to support both of them. However, she still told Desumi that when she had the opportunity, she would still take Akihoa. Desumi also promised not to lose to Arisu. The next day at the villain base, the commander-in-chief had a meeting to commend the employee of the month. The results were based on the number of battles and positive energy collected. And once again, Desumi achieved the employee of the month. Her score was 10 times higher than the top 2. Because of her achievement in defeating the red alien in her spare time, she got a lot of points, and the prize was a doll from the commander-in-chief. At this time the top 2 was Kiki, the queen of the magic beast, who challenged Desumi Daite. She was not interested in the doll, so she gave it to Kiki, making her even more angry. At Desumi's house, she met Kiki again talking to the queen of steel books. Desumi didn't want to get involved in their conversation until Jiaoti told Kiki that she had a crush. So Desumi's gossip blood rose again. Kati then told both of them about the person she had a crush on. Even though she knew that it was not allowed to fall in love in the meeting, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Desumi supported Jiaoti and told her to do whatever her heart told her. Hearing that, Jiaoti decided to go and confess to that person. But she was self-deprecating because she was quite careless. Everything about her was very ordinary. She was not as beautiful or strong as Desumi, so she was afraid that he would reject her. Hearing that, Desumi decided to help Jiaoti. She decided to help Jiaoti in love. Chi-Chi didn't want to participate, but Desumi still dragged her into this matter. The first was cooking. Jiaoti turned the fish into a pile of unknown origin. The next was yoga to shape the body. Jiaoti couldn't do it because the armor was too bulky. The next was reading books to learn how to speak, but Jiaoti fell asleep. Even the makeup failed. Desumi thought of more exercises for Jiaoti, but she couldn't do them. Disappointed in herself, she ran away. When the battle took place, Desumi told Akiwa the whole story. He also didn't know how to advise her. Akiwa only knew that being with Desumi was what made him happiest, and she just had to be herself. She was very relieved to hear Akiwa say that after the battle ended, Desumi dragged Kiki to see Jiaoti. When she entered the room, she was in the clouds with steel. Jiaoti was revealing herself to face everything around her. Desumi still wanted to drag Jiaoti out, then she started to resist. The closer she got, the more thorns from the clouds came out. Kiki had to support Desumi to approach Jiaoti. She then used all her strength to hug Jiaoti. With the motivation, Jiaoti decided to face love herself. Jiaoti took off her armor, and inside the armor, there was something equally beautiful. Both Kiki and Desumi had to be self-deprecating. Jiaoti then confessed to the person she liked, who was none other than the bear in Desumi's team. Surprisingly, the bear also liked Jiaoti, and the two of them became a couple. The next day, the bear bribed the giant in Jiaoti's team to help him today. The giant also agreed, and with Jiaoti's help, the bear was able to defeat the four knights. Ōjino saw that he couldn't fight back and wanted to run to find Akihoa for help. However, Arizu did not allow it. If he wanted to meet Akihoa, he had to defeat Arizu. With no other choice, Ōjino turned back to fight. Akihoa and Desumi were eating together at this time. She prepared a meal for him, making him thank his mother for giving birth to him. But when Akihoa had time to enjoy it, Desumi wanted to feed him herself. Akihoa once again thanked God for creating the world. She then met the first symptoms for Akihoa. The day when she was about to eat, her stomach ached again. Even so, Akihoa still tried to let Desumi feed him, but couldn't bear it because it was too painful. Akihoa fainted and then had to be hospitalized for 3 days. The doctor, Arizu, and Jingu came to see him. Jingu peeled an apple and fed it to Akihoa, but he wanted to save the first feeding for Desumi, so he refused to open his mouth. Arizu also realized and gave him a piece of apple. Then everyone left to let Akihoa rest. In his dream, someone was feeding him an apple. He thought it was Desumi, so he opened his mouth for her, but it was his mother. She then left to get some water. Akihoa took the opportunity to practice a little, and this time, Desumi really came to see him. She then fed him the apple. And this time, he was fed by his lover. The scene gradually became romantic when Akihoa's mother suddenly came in and announced that the truck would pick them up tomorrow. She then dragged Desumi to play ball with the Old People's Association because they were short of people. And playing ball with the strength of a queen, Desumi led Akihoa's mother to an overwhelming victory. Not yet. When she left with Desumi, she knew that she and Akihoa were interested in each other. And she also showed her a picture of Akihoa when he was a child and asked her to take care of him. Summer has come while the teammates are fighting under the scorching sun. Akihoa and Desumi are sitting in the shade. Both of them talked about the summer events and where they would go to play. Akihoa suggested the beach and the swimming pool at the dining hall at the villain base. Kiki had just arrived and saw the aura radiating from Desumi. Kiki felt that she was very bouncy and that she was worthy of being her opponent. But in fact, Desumi was hesitating between the two desserts today. Then they ate together. Kiki looked at Desumi's carefree look and didn't understand why she joined the secret society, but she said that her parents applied for her. In the entrance exam, Desumi only practiced normally, but the normal, she said, was better than all the other candidates. Desumi then helped Kiki attack the next location, the beach. Then there was an order to return to the training of the queens. Desumi didn't care, so Kiki had to drag her away. To explain further, in the secret society, she has an absolutely commanding authority. There are 6 main forces that will be commanded by powerful heroes. The group of queens will be the deputy leaders. Back to the training session, the commander-in-chief announced to everyone that the decision to create a new monster had been made. and Desumi was promoted from queen to monster. Now she will undergo surgery to be compatible with the beast. Desumi didn't want to, but seeing that her superiors were satisfied, she also wanted to believe that the beast she would be compatible with was a gorilla. Her surgery will take place tomorrow, and before Desumi could refuse, everyone had dispersed. She had thought a lot, because, after becoming a monster, she might not be able to return to her previous relationship with Akihoa. She then received a call from her family to congratulate her after hearing the news. Seeing the pride in their eyes, she couldn't refuse the surgery. At this time, Akihoa called. He didn't want to say anything, he just wanted to hear her voice. Suddenly, he heard her choking, so he ran to see Desumi. The two of them then went to the rooftop, and she told him everything. Akihoa also said that he would kill the gorilla later. He said that it didn't matter what he did now. What mattered was what Desumi wanted. Akihoa knew that she was very kind to everyone around her, but he hoped that she would be a little selfish for once and keep that kindness for herself. Then Desumi made up her mind. She still had a lot of things she wanted to do with Akihoa. The next day, Desumi refused to undergo the fusion surgery. The commander-in-chief did not reduce her rank. Because she accounted for 50% of the company's revenue, it would be difficult for him to make money if she quit. On the contrary, the commander-in-chief praised Desumi because she wanted to become stronger on her own, not by relying on the liver of an animal. Then, Desumi's team arrived at the beach, because Akihoa had told her that the alien group would be testing a super combat robot at the beach on Saturday. That meant that the two of them would have a trip to the beach together. She then informed the bear, and then Kiki and Gyoti also joined the battle this time. And this was not a swimming pool, but a combat uniform. Then they started to wait for the alien group to appear. Suddenly, a series of missiles flew straight to the bear, causing a loss of troops. Then a ship appeared from under the sea, and the officer had pressed the wrong button to launch the missile. It was said to be a robot test, but in fact, the alien group came here to relax, and the officer said that this ship was just the top cover of the robot. Akihoa then swam ashore to find Desumi. She also came to him, and he was stunned by her beauty. The two of them holding hands together will create many beautiful memories at the beach. Meanwhile, the bear and Gyoti, like Japan, surrendered after being hit by two melons. Only Kiki remained to fight, because she refused to surrender to Desumi. Kiki looked out and saw that Desumi had already caught Akihoa, and was holding him hostage. But in fact, the two of them were just playing a game of tag. They continued to play watermelon smashing, but Kiki thought that Desumi would smash Akihoa like a watermelon. While she was distracted, Kiki was captured by Ōjino. She knew Ōjino, but Ōjino didn't need to distinguish between the two sides when he saw a beautiful girl. He then wanted to ask Kiki out, but she punched him. Ōjino still had the cheek to ask Kiki out. As for Desumi, she joined the alien group. I made noodles for the group. The officer also prepared fireworks. Everyone was enjoying the beauty of the fireworks when the officer had to choke on smoke when Desumi reunited with Kiki. She thought that the mission to destroy the robot had failed, but the ship suddenly exploded. The officer wanted to sell another round of fireworks, but he forgot to close the safety cap. Desumi's mission was thus completed. Then the alien group had to take a ship back. At this time, Fudo looked at Desumi and felt that she looked familiar. The next day, this was the alien Sangla. He was considered the most responsible person in the group, as he had to fight, while also being concerned with finding the next alien. Suto was also very good at cooking. Today, he knew that Akihoa was on duty, so he made food for him. Dingu saw this and wanted to be Sudo's girlfriend so that he could cook for her. Despite being teased, Fudo remained calm and left. He then went to deliver food to Akihoa. Fudo saw Akihoa writing a diary in his hand. It was the diary of the girl at the beach the day before. Fudo asked her name. And when Akihoa said it was Desumi, Fudo suddenly collapsed and fainted. Akihoa then took him to the hospital. Fudo then said that he and Desumi were from the same hometown, and her absurd power was created by him. Akihoa was interested, so he wanted Fudo to tell him again. The tragedy began 15 years ago. When Fudo was still in junior high school and in the karate club, he was considered a talented seed. The seniors couldn't even beat Fudo, let alone his peers. And so he developed an arrogant personality until one day, Desumi appeared. And her first words when she came to the club were that whatever she touched would break. Fudo was told about her incidents at school. At first he wanted to test how strong she was. And one punch from her made him remember all the vows he had made since he was born. Even though he wanted to die at that moment, he still had to pretend to be okay in front of his juniors. Desumi was very happy and wanted to try again, but Fudo thought he would die if he took another punch. And the next day, the karate club was closed because his teacher was defeated by Desumi. He decided to go to prison. When he entered the club, Fudo only saw Desumi. She was very sad because she always ruined everyone's fun. Not wanting her to be sad, he decided to become her servant. The following days were days when Fudo was beaten instead of eating. But he still had to pretend to be okay to save face. On the contrary, Desumi became more and more excited. After days of training, her strength became stronger and stronger. And Desumi easily defeated a group of thugs, and then a third-year high school student. Fudo had to move out because his parents had divorced. However, before he left, he had to complete one thing. That was to decide the winner between him and Desumi. Even though he had been secretly training to defeat the monster he had created, Fudo was defeated after 2 minutes. Then he left with the feeling of running away to Tokyo. Even so, he was still afraid whenever her name was mentioned. Fudo thought that if he could recruit Desumi and the alien group with her absurd power, world peace would be too easy. Aki Huang thought that Desumi was a dark alien. He was so happy. Fudo then planned with Aki Hoa to recruit her. The next day, Aki Hoa brought Desumi to meet Fudo again. Although she appeared calm, her hands were shaking more than ever. She was nostalgic about these victories, and the two of them happily trained together. But for Fudo, it was hell. Desumi then wanted the two of them to practice some moves that made Fudo difficult. But Aki Hoa had already said that when he saw his lover sad he would become stronger. Fudo also knew that the two of them were in love. He then asked Desumi to join the alien team. Hearing that she could fight alongside Aki Hoa made her very happy. Then both of their dates were accidentally discovered. When she thought about her family and the company that occupied 50% of the population's income each year, she declined the invitation. Then both of them took advantage of the love affair in front of Todogo Dato. Todogo, when looking at Dogesumi, thought she had fallen in love when she only felt like falling in love. No longer cold and cruel as before. While Todogo fought monsters every day and constantly increased his strength, he then challenged Dogesumi once more to resolve his mental issues. The fight was simple. If Todogo lost, he would no longer pursue her. But if Todogo won, Dogesumi would have to join the rescue team and give up her relationship with Aki Hoa because in the rescue team, love was forbidden. Hearing this, a huge aura burst from Dogesumi. Todogo unconsciously transformed due to the defense mechanism in his brain. And the result was that he still lost. Fortunately, he still managed to keep his life. Todogo then accepted to give up. Then Aki Hoa took Dogesumi home. She wondered if anyone other than Arizu and Todogo knew about their secret. Aki Hoa thought it was a lot, because after the beach incident, the fishermen had spread the news throughout the rescue team. Gyozumi thought the two should keep their distance, which made Aki Hoa very sad. But she was just joking, and then took Aki Hoa's hand. The two were photographed by someone, and the next morning, Aki Hoa received a package, and when she opened it, it was a picture of her and Dogesumi, with a message that he knew everything at Dogesumi's school while she was eating with her friends. Suddenly her food was taken by a girl. Dogesumi did not dare to fight back until Kiki and Kauti came to talk, and this girl was Haodu. She had a hobby of stealing other people's precious letters. Haodu then left, despite Kiki's scolding. Then Aki Hoa went to the meeting point, according to the anonymous name, and it was none other than Haodu. She threatened to distribute the photo if he did not obey her orders immediately. However, he allowed her to distribute the photo on the condition that Dogesumi's face be covered, because he did not want her to have trouble with the media. Besides, he also thought that her beauty would attract the attention of the boys. In general, he would obey her orders to keep it a secret. But when she asked him to kiss Dogesumi's hand, he refused. Aki Hoa asked to change to another request. Haodu intended to test Aki Hoa's words of liking her, but was again rejected. She then ran out of patience with Aki Hoa, and decided to inform the security. Aki Hoa begged her and she gave him one last chance. Haodu wanted Aki Hoa to kiss her hand and then leave. But when Aki Hoa was about to do so, Haodu felt ashamed and left first. The next day Aki Hoa met Dogesumi in private to tell her everything. As soon as she heard it, she wanted to kill her, but Aki Hoa wanted to save that as a last resort. When she heard Haodu's request, Dogesumi knew that person was in love with Aki Hoa. This made her very worried. Aki Hoa reassured her and promised to solve this matter. That night, he went to find Haodu again. He then rejected her feelings without knowing. The person Haodu had feelings for was Dogesumi. When she was young, she was always attracted to the shiny metal because her dressing style was different from the rest, but only Desumi recognized the beauty and started a conversation with Hayato. Since then, she has fallen for Desumi. Akihoa did not find it strange but also sympathized with her, because Desumi was really beautiful. He then invited Hayato to also give orders about Desumi in the morning. She didn't want to talk about it because now the two were rivals. Besides, she had a secret that she didn't want to tell anyone, and it was nothing when Desumi Hayato was also one of the queen groups. She is the queen of the same anger. Hayato always wore a mask, so no one in the organization knew her face. Today the two met again, and the couple was in the playground for a compatibility test. The result was that both reached 98% Dachi score. Desumi was very happy while Akihoa was disappointed because she didn't get 100%. At this time, Arisu came to ask Desumi if the meeting would attack tomorrow, because tomorrow the commander-in-chief had a dental appointment, so they would think. Hearing that, Arisu asked Akihoa to help her review for the upcoming test. Looking at it was enough, but he was one of the best students in the school. Akihoa agreed to tutor Arisu, and Desumi also seemed to want to study together, so Akihoa organized a study group. The location was in Desumi's room. The next day, all three arrived in front of the rescue team's gate, just put on their uniforms and easily passed through the gate. Even the beastmen didn't recognize them. Akihoa took a deep breath as soon as she entered Desumi's room. He then intended to go to her bed but was stopped by her using a pillow to wake him up. Then the three of them started studying. Akihoa also had to wear the same uniform as the rescue team. At this time, Desumi's test paper was suddenly leaked, and all of them were 100 points. In fact, she was very good at studying but had to hide it in order to study with Akihoa. Desumi then also became a teacher to tutor the 2 seasons with Arisu. In the process of teaching, Akihoa kept giving examples of finding breasts with muscles and also drawing pictures that made Arisu even worse. This made Desumi have to intervene, and she couldn't help Arisu either. Staying there would not help, so Arisu asked to go home first, leaving the two of them alone. With only the two of them left, Desumi asked what Akihoa would do after graduation. He decided to study at a teacher training college. Akihoa wants to become a teacher to help the younger generation towards a better future. Desumi's dream is to go to the same university as Akihoa. She wants to be with him and make his dream come true. However, she was not sure if she would be able to go to university, because Chako might object to this. Chako wants her to focus on her work at the meeting after graduation. Akihoa assured Desumi that he would persuade her so that she could do whatever she wanted. Desumi was very happy to hear that. At this time there was a knock on the door. Desumi thought it was Arisu who had forgotten something, but in fact it was Chako who came up to visit her. He also brought his younger sister Urami to visit her. And Chako also met Akihoa, just as Desumi said. Chako didn't care about studying at all. When Akihoa told him that he came here to tutor Desumi, he criticized it and said that studying would not lead to anything. Then he criticized his daughter's room for being too messy. Even Desumi was scolded when she refused to be promoted to a monster, hearing her father-in-law say harsh words to his wife. Akihoa defended Desumi. While he was praising her, Urami suddenly hit him on the head with a stick. Fortunately, he had a hat on, and he barely escaped death. Urami thought that Akihoa would never understand Desumi. Desumi also advised Akihoa not to fight back because her younger sister was a very stubborn girl. He then accidentally turned on the TV and an advertisement for the rescue team appeared, making her father even more disgusted with the rescue team. He advised her not to study but to focus on training to destroy the rescue team. Desumi could only obey her father's words. Akihoa kept his promise to her. He begged her father to let Desumi go to university. At this time, Urami wanted to hit Akihoa, but was stopped by Desumi, making her cry and hide in the corner. Akihoa continued to beg her father for Desumi. He told Akihoa to stop meddling in other people's family affairs. After all, he will become his family, so he will meddle first. With no other choice, Desumi's family challenged Akihoa. He then grabbed him and spun him around a few times, and then said that this was the art of defeat. His tenure to practice this skill. He thought that no one would understand his pride when Akihoa surprisingly understood it very well, because he often defeated soldiers who also used that. This made him very touched. Akihoa had received recognition from his father-in-law. He then borrowed Desumi's bathroom, and the university matter would be discussed more seriously next time. The two then headed home. Desumi thanked Akihoa for everything. Urami was still with Desumi, and she didn't like her sister's current appearance. She blamed it all on Uchihawa, who was Akihoa last year. Urami was always teased by the boys at school because she didn't have a mother. At that time, only Desumi came forward to fight the bullies. Every time she cried, Desumi had to coax her with candy. She also advised her to be stronger because when her sister left, Urami had to protect herself. Back to the present, Urami went with Desumi to her workplace. As soon as they entered the base, the soldiers greeted Desumi, making Urami very proud of her sister. Of course, she didn't care and even flirted with the soldiers. Urami gradually lost her image of Desumi. Desumi then led Urami to meet the commander-in-chief, and everyone else. Everyone hoped that Urami could overcome her sister's shadow. Of course, Desumi didn't really care, and then she took her sister out to play to get away from this gloomy place. Desumi didn't care about her superiors because what she cared about most in this company was whose father's son was. The two sisters started walking around the city. Then they went shopping together. Urami had now reached the point where she thought Desumi was not as strong as before. Urami sat in a corner of the street and recalled the past. Ever since Desumi went to the city, Urami had no one to protect her, so she was bullied even more. She gradually withdrew into herself and locked herself in her room, not wanting to see anyone. Then her father still didn't give up on her. The next day, he told Urami all about Desumi's battles. Although she had failed many times, she never gave up and continued to fight. Gradually, Urami stepped out of her comfort zone. Desumi was her only source of motivation. At this time, 3 punks came looking for her and wanted to take Urami out to play. She wanted to deal with them, but they said they knew her weakness, which made her afraid to fight back. At this time, Desumi had found her. Don't touch anyone. But if you touch the queen's sister, you won't be able to stand up for 2 days. After dealing with the 3 punks, the 2 sisters ate crepes together. Desumi thought Urami was still too young to understand what love was, but she was sure that when she grew up, Urami would understand her feelings. The next day, Urami went home. She had accepted her sister's change. However, she still didn't like Akiwa, so when she went to the meeting, she would fix him first. The battle between good and evil still happened frequently, the only difference being that it was already dawn. Desumi gave Akiwa a poster of her school festival. It would be held on Sunday, and her class would organize a maid cafe. Hearing that Desumi would be in a maid outfit, even if the sky fell, he would still have to go. In addition, Desumi also said that there was a legend in her school. At the end of the cultural festival, there would be a wishing star that would only appear for an hour. If 2 people sat on it and took a picture, their love would be stronger. Both of them were looking forward to the festival. Because there would be a lot of people there, they had to be very careful if they didn't want to be discovered. On Sunday at the cultural festival, Akiwa was the most eye-catching person because Ōjino had asked him to attract everyone's attention. This was the punishment for Akiwa daring to go out to play without telling Ōjino. Just as Ōjino was engrossed in greeting his old classmates, Akiwa quickly ran away. On Desumi's side, she also encountered a lot of trouble when Haru dragged her to the wishing star to make a wish. Kiki went to stop the couples from falling in love. She was also ridiculed by Jyoti for not having anyone by her side. Jyoti even brought her boyfriend to show off to Kiki. Kiki didn't know how people would react when they saw a bear. However, there were also cosplayers at this festival, so they found it normal. Akiwa was now hiding in the maid's house, and Desumi happened to be hiding there as well. The 2 of them hid in a corner of the room. At this time, Desumi took out some cookies that she had made for Akiwa. She was very upset that the 2 of them couldn't go to the festival freely. Ka was to take her to the wishing star. Suddenly, Kiki appeared to stop them. When Desumi had just dodged Kiki, Haru came looking for her again. Akiwa was caught by Ōjino again. Well, the star had appeared, so he needed to find a way to get out of this situation. The couples went up to the wishing star one by one, while Desumi played hide and seek with Haru around the school. She quickly hid in the toilet and asked the Queen of Blood to help her out. In return, she would give the Blood Queen a doll of the Commander-in-Chief because the Blood Queen had a crush on him. As soon as Desumi left, the 2 queens had a fight. Desumi ran outside to find Akiwa and saw that he was being used as a horse by Ōjino for him to ride. Just when she didn't know what to do, Kiki came looking for her to go out to play. Suddenly, Kiki felt a chill run down her spine. It turned out that Ōjino had recognized her and started to chase after her. The crowd disappeared with her, and Akiwa and Desumi quickly ran to the star. After the time was up, there were still a lot of people. Desumi thought of a way because there were many cosplayers here, so if they transformed, no one would recognize them. According to Desumi, Aikawa transformed with her, and the two of them walked towards the wishing star. Everyone around them praised their costumes. Just like that, the two of them took a picture together under the wishing star. When Desumi returned to Harukobit's house, she was happier than ever. At the evil base, the two rabbit and snake personnel had a conversation. They both admired the love that overcame the barriers between the bear and the cat, and they were also envious because they couldn't find a partner. After finishing her makeup, the rabbit went out to fight. When she encountered the car group, their weapons were unexpectedly destroyed and exploded, and the car group was defeated because of this. Back at the base, she went to the cafeteria to eat. Desumi noticed that the queen of the people was always alone and didn't make friends with anyone. Desumi went to talk to the people, but she didn't care and left. At this time the rabbit came to talk to Desumi. Because the people belonged to the rabbit's team, which was a professional force specializing in sniping and special missions. Ever since she joined the guild, the people had been given a special mission, so she couldn't make friends with anyone. The rabbit advised the people to be more open to others, but it was all in vain. After understanding the problem, Desumi wanted to help the people. She then went to find the people. Desumi gave the people an invitation to a meeting of the 9 forces of the queens in her room, but in fact, it was a party. Desumi had to say that in order for the people to come. At this moment, there was a knock at the door. Unexpectedly, it was Aikawa, which made Kiki and Kawati enter a fighting stance. Unexpectedly, it was the people in disguise. Desumi realized that this was not Aikawa from the beginning because he was more muscular. Then the group made sukiyaki together. The people asked about the meeting of the 9 forces, but there was no such meeting here, only a party. Everyone would try to get close to the people. Desumi then invited her to eat sukiyaki. Because she didn't know how to express herself, the people transformed into Aikawa to express her feelings. Then everyone played together in the girls' dormitory, and of course, they talked about love. The people didn't know what love was. Desumi happily explained it to her, and just by seeing the happiness in Desumi's words, the people knew that she was in love. The people kept changing their appearance to see which one Desumi liked. When it came to Aikawa's face, she couldn't deny it. Desumi quickly changed the subject. She gave everyone a handkerchief as a token of their friendship, and then everyone went to bed. And at night, the people left while everyone was asleep. Desumi walked out to see her off. The people thanked her for the wonderful party, and she would come again next time. The people transformed into Aikawa again to speak, which made Desumi jump in surprise. As for the people's transformation, every time she met Aikawa, Desumi had to check if he was the real thing at the annual meeting. The bear suggested that the attack site this time would be the snowstorm because the humans wouldn't be able to do anything. But the bear didn't expect that it and the commander wouldn't be able to do anything either. Both sides just stood there looking at each other, while Aikawa and Desumi hid in the snowstorm and drank coffee. At this time, Aikawa happily informed her that the muscle book he knew about had been approved and published. He would have a book signing the next day and hoped she would come. The next day at school, Desumi fell ill from being in the snowstorm all day, but she still wanted to go to the book signing. Her 2 friends had to rush her to the infirmary. The fairy queen took care of her, and when Desumi woke up, she found herself being changed into a baby. The fairy began to undress her to breastfeed her. Kiki and Cody came to find Desumi, and were told that she was sick and being cared for by the fairy. Hearing about the fairy reminded Kiki of the time she was also cared for by her. And everyone was considered a newborn by her. The fairy had a very strong maternal instinct, and Kiki and Cody quickly ran to call Desumi. They would pretend to be sick and then attack her by surprise. Desumi was now dressed as a baby for the fairy to take care of. She saw that the book signing was coming up and wanted to go, but the fairy held her back. Desumi just fell asleep like that. Kiki and Cody had just arrived when Desumi fell fast asleep. According to the plan, the 2 pretended to have a stomachache, and suddenly the fairy pressed a button that caused them both to fall into a hole that took them to the infirmary for special care. At that moment, Akiho came to Desumi's school. He went to the infirmary and found her in a baby outfit. Desumi was still delirious, so she wanted him to tell her a story. Akihawa obediently took out the muscle book and read it. A moment later, Desumi woke up. She was surprised to see him there and wondered about the book signing. In fact, no one had come to Desumi's signing. And Desumi was the first person to sign his book, while Kiki and Cody had been psychologically manipulated by the fairy. At the villain's base, the commander-in-chief had finally completed the experiment that he had been working so hard to perfect. The Desumi clone. Today, She had made macarons for Akihoa. He informed Desumi that he was going to be in an upcoming commercial. Akihoa showed Desumi the plan. She read it for a while, and learned that the commercial was related to the election. In addition, Akihoa's co-star was a famous Asian idol. Just the other day, the idol had publicly declared herself a big fan of the red EO. Seeing the commercial script, Desumi forbade Akihoa from participating in the commercial. Akihoa couldn't do that because the other members had all refused to participate. Ōjino was too busy, and Todo was not suited for the role. No matter what, Desumi would not accept this. Akihoa accidentally called her stubborn, which made Desumi angry and leave. Akihoa still didn't understand what was going on. At this time, Arisu, who had been eavesdropping, appeared. She asked Akihoa how he would feel if Desumi got married and was with someone else other than him. Now Akihoa understood how Desumi felt. Akihoa then ran back to the base to ask the commander to withdraw him from the commercial. Otherwise he would bite his tongue and log out of the Earth game. The commander couldn't just tell him to quit because the commercial was one of the sponsors for the EO team. He said that the plan was to turn each member's personal weapon into a part of a combined weapon. The reason they had been marking time for so long was because they lacked the funds. But a few days ago it had been completed. It was just a commercial, but it was also considered an important job to protect the world. Akihoa had no choice but to come up with another way. He thought of a way to just make the cake with Desumi before the day of the commercial shoot. Akihoa then went online to learn how to make a cake. He didn't succeed at first. Every cake he made came out burnt. For 2 days, he didn't get along with Desumi, which made her extremely upset to the point that Kiki and Cody didn't dare to approach her. Then there was a meeting with the commander-in-chief. He introduced to everyone the monster that had been born. Through everyone's efforts, the negative energy had been cleared. Then the commander-in-chief activated the machine, but its appearance was not what everyone had expected, as it was a giant baby. Ignoring its appearance, the commander-in-chief ordered it to destroy the world. However, it gave him a big blow that blew up the villain's base. The others wanted to go after it, but they were stopped by the giant baby and Kiki and Cody. However, after a lot of damage, it was still unharmed. The monsters then attacked. Of course, it didn't work. The giant baby then grabbed the bear and 2 cannons came out of its back. It once again destroyed the base and flew away. Kekua, after being instructed by Todo, had finished making the cake. It was time to go to the commercial shoot. Back at the base, Desumi still didn't care about the people around her, and was just very sad to see Aikawa making the cake with someone else instead of her. Everyone else was fine. At this time, she received a call from Akiwa, but she didn't answer it. At the filming location, he still tried to contact her. It was time, so he had to put it on hold for now. Just as he was about to make the cake, the image of Desumi appeared again. He gave up on the job and couldn't do it with anyone other than Desumi. While he was struggling internally, the giant baby arrived. The field reporter had also arrived to report on the news, and Desumi also heard about it. The other 4 hadn't arrived yet, so Akiwa had to fight alone. He found that the cake he had worked so hard to make had been crushed in the building collapse. Just as it was about to attack him, the other 4 arrived. The 5 Geo brothers transformed together, and the 5 adults fought the giant baby together. Todo acted as a shield for the others to attack. Arisu and Ōjino provided support. At that moment, Aikawa rushed forward and used a slash attack, and from behind, the giant baby Todo had restrained it. However, the giant baby from under the rubble bit Todo, knocking him unconscious. The entire building collapsed, and everyone was fine, even the giant baby. The Ezio team was at a disadvantage when Kiki and Cody came to their aid. However, Cody was still in great pain from the bear's death, so she turned and attacked the giant baby. Kiki wanted to knock it out, but she was knocked away, and the giant baby swallowed Cody whole. It used Cody's energy to revive Kiki, and then it ate the cake and grew larger. Desumi just snuck over to watch Akiwa fight. She saw the cake he had made for her, which made her very happy. The giant baby, after eating the cake, turned into a cake itself. At this time, the commander called and told everyone to use their weapons to fight, or they would have no chance of winning. The 5 of them then combined their weapons into a long sword for Akiwa. Immediately after that, the other 4 were also captured. Akiwa was badly injured and couldn't hold the long sword. At this time, the fairy queen appeared to help Akiwa. In the tense situation, the 2 of them were still able to flirt with each other. Then, they charged together. The giant baby threw out any move it could, but it was all blocked by the love of the two. They flew up and slashed the cake in half with one blow. It was as if they were making the cake together. The giant baby was completely destroyed, and everyone was still alive, including the bear and Cody. Afterwards, Akiwa and Desumi sat down and talked again. Suddenly, the giant baby was still alive, only it was smaller. It suddenly called the two of them father and mother, which shocked them. The reporter ran over to see what was going on, and the two of them turned to face each other. Akiwa asked Desumi out on a date next time. She promised him, and then the commander took the baby away. The commander-in-chief then adopted the baby. The test days continued as usual. Winter had arrived, and the two of them had been together for a year. Their battle was still going on, but the anime was over. Goodbye.